Welcome to episode 52 of NF Show, the official NF Magazine weekly podcast. This episode is titled Mixed Results because we are going to be getting into Nintendo's third quarter financial results, which were reported in the last week, as well as some fresh gameplay impressions courtesy of Evan. He's been playing a number of games lately, especially some of those on the indie game front. And we, of course, have some feedback. So, yeah, if we're going to be hearing from Evan, here he is. Hello.
How's it going? How's it going, Noah?
It's going pretty good. I had a 4-day weekend out of town, and so there was no technology involved at all. It was really kind of weird. I was completely unplugged. So I didn't even have any games. I thought about bringing my 3DS, but it didn't happen. So I didn't play any games, anything. I think I
Hey,
took one picture. That's about it.
you missed out on Codename Steam, the surprise demo dropping last Thursday then.
I totally missed out on that. That is news to me. And I might have to go and check that out. I bet that you have, or maybe you have some impressions for us in this week's episode.
Yes, definitely.
Cool. Before we get into talking about Evan's latest game impressions, we do want to give you an update on the Year 3 Kickstarter for NF Magazine. It is still going strong. We have not reached funding yet, so if you're interested in becoming a brand new subscriber for NF Magazine, the third year, oh my gosh, is it really the third year? The third year of it! Can you believe that much time's gone by? The third year of that, or if you want to renew your subscription, you have to go over to the Kickstarter and take care of it over there. There are a number of really cool reward tiers. If you are new to the magazine, you can potentially get back issues. So from custom art pieces to back issues to other cool bonuses, go over there and check it out and join us for the third year of our Odyssey and covering all the latest Nintendo news, features, games, and print format or digital format, whatever format you prefer. Both of those options are available. So go over to Kickstarter.com, search for NF Magazine, find the Year 3 Kickstarter program, and that's where you can kick off. Also, a small news tidbit that Evan threw into the intro, I'll just spit out here. Xenoblade Chronicles X, how big exactly is the game? The map is apparently 5 times larger than the map that was in Xenoblade Chronicles. And I remember, Evan, that game alone, the one on Wii, was huge, and to imagine something 5 times bigger is mind-boggling.
It's almost overwhelming to say the least. And I guess we now understand why there are going to be the dolls, which are basically the mechs that you can jump into and shoot across the map, because it's going to be so huge. You're going to need a quick way to get from location to location. I'm sure there'll be quick travel abilities as well, but I'm really excited to see the varied locales that they have in this game. And the game's executive director said that his recent playtest took 300 hours, which who has time for 300 hours in a game?
That's really a good question. That could hypothetically keep you busy until Nintendo's next console comes out with that number of hours out there. And shoot, I didn't feel like I had enough time to really get through everything substantially, at least to my own satisfaction, that the previous Xenoblade game had. So it's kind of intimidating to hear about a game potentially having 300 hours. Now, the previous game was Labyrinth in terms of all of the extra side quests that you could do, the relationship building, all this extra stuff, all this extra content in addition to the main story missions that you could jump into. And so I'm going to take a guess that Xenoblade Chronicles X is going to feature even more of that, which is part of what really sucked my time away from me. Is I got lost in focusing on the main storyline and just started doing all these little small side things instead. So if you have a bit of a compulsion when it comes to playing games and you have to really uncover every nook and cranny, either to your benefit or your detriment, this game could be heaven or hell, as to quote an old fighting game that I don't think ever was on a Nintendo machine, but maybe if you've played it before, you'll know what I'm talking about. But Evan, how much do you think you're up to the task of playing through Xenoblade Chronicles X?
I'm pretty excited. I need to go back to Xenoblade Chronicles. I put about 30 hours into that, and it's weird. As much as I like Xenoblade Chronicles, it never playing a game for 30 hours, it hooked you, but it never kind of sings with me the way that the last story did. I'm someone who always thought the last story was the best of that Operation Rainfall trilogy, but everything I see of Xenoblade Chronicles X, it just looks so gorgeous. The music's amazing, and we haven't seen a game like this from Nintendo, arguably since Xenoblade Chronicles, and it's just kind of rare. This like massive open world experience. Hopefully, Zelda will be something like that, but I'm just really stoked to see this game come to Wii U, especially since it's been over 2 years since it was initially revealed.
That's so true, and this really is as a previous, as an audience member or an audience or listener slash watcher mentioned last week. This is kind of the year of gigantic open world games, at least in terms of highlights for Nintendo games between Zelda and Xenoblade, two huge open world games that are coming to the Wii U. It's I think we're going to have a lot to do potentially with our free time, provided that we have enough to get through it.
Yeah.
So, looking forward to that. Let's get into your gameplay impressions. It looks like you have some extra impressions on games that you started previously. I wonder which ones you've actually finished, and you've also got some new stuff on Codename Steam, Evan.
Yeah, I've been playing quite a few games, especially on 3DS. I've been kind of having a little love affair with the old 3DS XL before I kick it to the curb, so to speak, here in the next couple of weeks. So I got the Codename Steam demo, which was a pleasant surprise, and it's quite a hefty demo, especially from Nintendo. I've put, I think, like an hour and a half or an hour and 45 minutes into it of content, and now it's opened up the ability where I can, I guess, play some of the old missions that I've experienced, but with 4 people. It's very much feels like what would be the tutorial of the game. I don't know if this is all new content. Hopefully, I won't have to play it over again by purchasing the game. But you're kind of starting with 1 character, and then you get 2, and finally you get 4, and kind of seeing this strategy game come to life that's presented in a third-person perspective. And I feel like we've gotten a lot of information about this game, and Nintendo had that solely dedicated E3 event where they unveiled it, and everyone was like, what? It's comic book style. It's Abraham Lincoln leading this task force against aliens in a steampunk world. And it's just kind of like a lot to put your head around. And obviously, 3DS trailers and screenshots just look terrible when you're viewing them on your computer and everything. So the first thing people are like is, ugh, it looks like chunky. It looks pretty rough. It looks great on the 3DS. And it's been a lot of fun. Intelligent Systems has just quite the reputation, and it seems to hold up here. What's cool about it is obviously having this third-person perspective and being on the battlefield, and it's not like Fire Emblem where you're looking kind of over the top of the battlefield, and then you're kind of having a little cutscene to get in the battles. This is all real time, except it's still kind of going from tile to tile, but it's relegated to your Steam. But what I found really cool about it is just the Overwatch ability, which is in other strategy games, Noah. But here, basically, if you hold back a certain amount of your little Steam points, as I'll call them, you can use the Overwatch ability with certain weapons. So if an enemy comes into your line of sight, you then fire at them, and you get a better damage. You do more damage to them because of that, because you've kind of been playing this wait-and-see approach. And the enemies can also do that. So that's kind of like one of the main little hooks that's really fun to do. And overall, I've really enjoyed it, but I found that this game definitely seems like it was created with the new 3DS in mind, because you're actually moving with the circle pad, but you're using the camera with the stylus. So I saw someone refer to it like Kid Icarus Uprising, which I disagree. First off, Kid Icarus Uprising is a very high-speed game and everything. You're doing a lot of movements. This is, you have your turn with your players, and then the enemies have their turn. It's not something where you're both moving together, and hence how the Overwatch ability works. But still, I couldn't help but feel that with how finicky it can be with the stylus and everything, that it feels so much better using the C-stick. And I'm sure Intelligent System knew that, and knew the game would be coming out closer after the new 3DS. So I'm much more excited to play it that way than I am with the stylus.
Do you have your new 3DS already pre-ordered, or are you just going to hop to the store and pick one up?
I'll probably pre-order one. I keep telling myself every week, oh, I should pre-order it this time. I should trade in a couple of games, and I keep delaying that for some reason. I don't know why. But I plan on actually putting a pre-order down, but I don't suspect getting the black or red new 3DS XL should be too difficult.
Yeah.
I I can't see it being crazy. I mean, I've been wrong before, but I don't think we're gonna. I'm gonna pre-order to be safe, but I think you would be able to go in on Sunday. I think people are more obsessed with Amiibo right now than they are with 3DS systems and everything. But I guess most importantly, the demo did convince me to pick this up. I was interested in it, but it seems really cool. I've put almost 2 hours into the demo. The only issue that I've had, and this is something I worry if map sizes get really big, Noah, as I talked about how you each have your own turn, is the fact that when the alien turns go, part of kind of the other hook to this is you never see an overview of the battle map. It's everything's in third person. So you've kind of got to scout and see from that vantage point. You're not going to get a better vantage point. So then you have to wait for the aliens to move, and you can only see from your person's perspective. So sometimes if you're like hiding behind a wall, you're just sitting there for like 25 or 25 seconds watching a progress bar and waiting for the aliens to move. And there's no way to speed up that process.
Ooh. That's kind of an interesting decision. I wonder why that was put in there. Do they think that you're sitting there trying to strategize what your next move is going to be?
It's definitely going to be divisive. I think it hasn't irritated me too much, but I think the problem is having it where you're not seeing the overview and having it where you have these Overwatch abilities and everything. I'm guessing they couldn't come up with a way where it could just show if an enemy interacted with that one character. They felt like I'm guessing it was something like because of these instances, you just have to play it out and wait for your turn to proceed.
And that it's I guess part of it is this game is supposed to be a combination of real-time and turn-based strategy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's the real-time portion is the aliens are going to take their turns, gosh darn it, and you will wait for them to take their turns, and then you will go back to your turn.
Yeah, there's a part of me, and I checked this if someone knows. I was hoping like you could press one of the shoulder buttons or a button to at least like speed up their move. Yeah, at least fast forward because sometimes it's like, all right, I just want to get to my next move. I just want to get to my next move and everything. But other than that, I think it's really cool and it's going to be an exciting game for 3DS owners.
So you're definitely planning on getting it?
Yeah, unless Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate and Majora's Mask 3D have just totally consumed me, which could be the case. But yeah, Codename Steam, I really like it, and I think it'll feel really good with the C-Stick. And there's a couple reasons. There's not anything quite like that, I feel like, on the system, especially from this perspective. And it's a new IP from Nintendo, which always excites me more than if it was just a old franchise.
Nice. And you have updates on some other indie games you've been playing?
I got Gunman Clive 2. It was $3. I had a good enough time with the first one that for that cheap of a price, I just said, heck, I want to see what this is like. And it's a lot like Gunman Clive. There's more colors. There's a little more variety in the stages and everything, but it's what you'd expect, like an hour and a half to 2 hour adventure. I haven't finished it yet, but it's a short game. There's other playable characters, and it's a great little kind of Mega Man type platformer game that's really fun. Did you ever play the first?
No, I was kind of turned off by what I saw in the trailer. Like, well, that's cool, but it's not necessarily my kind of game.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's like a really short experience. I guess combined, I think the first one's $2. So for $5, you could get both of them and play through 3 to 4 to 5 hours. It's a fun game that you could easily run through, but I've found myself just playing in like 15-minute spurts or whatever. And it's nice to go along with Codename Steam. They're two very different types of games, but I'm glad we have Gunman Clive 2. It seems like a worthy sequel and another cool little platformer experience for the 3DS.
Cool. How is your time in Starship Damery progressing?
I'm finished. I found myself disliking it the more I played. Like I think I had like 30 to 45 minutes left after the last show, and I like went back to it, and it's a very small like ship basically. There's 2 levels and everything, but I just got to the point where I knew basically what I needed to do, and it's like, oh my gosh, I just don't want to even go to the next part doing this robot. I talked about those controls and everything, and the story's okay. Um, I think what drew me to the Starship Jamboree was kind of the mystery surrounding and everything, and kind of the eeriness. And as you kind of unlock everything and get what's going on, you're just kind of like, it turns into a very typical adventure game in a lot of ways. You need one thing to solve one puzzle, and I don't know. It was overall mediocre, and I think Kasaki Project told me that I should try to unlock the full ending, and I actually got the object I need to do that. I would just need to literally take it to another place, but I'm sorry, I just have no desire to do that. I'm done with it. I really don't care about the true ending. I like read that and like thought about it, and I was like, no, I don't want to move that little robot around. It's not worth it to me.
Well, you really got burned by those controls, huh?
I wouldn't even say burned. It just got like, it kind of ran out of tricks, and it just got to the point where I was just like, okay, I see what this has to offer and everything, and just I don't think it's a bad game. I just think it's a pretty average game, and definitely it doesn't live up to my other favorite level 5 guild games. Like I said, your favorite Crimson Shroud, as well as actually both of our favorites, Attack of the Friday Monsters.
Yeah.
But I'm really curious to see what other people think of Starship Jamboree. I'm glad I checked it out. It was short and everything, but man, if you like the Starship Jamboree, so this would go to Kasaki Project, anyone else out there, The Fall, much better. Definitely go with The Fall on the Wii U. And I'm guessing about the same price. I'm guessing Starship Jamboree is around like $6-ish. I mean, we got it on sale, but The Fall is only 10. And there was actually a patch, I realized, no, so maybe that helped some of kind of the system freezes since I played last time.
Oh, good, yeah. I mentioned you said you had some challenges here and there throughout the game, but if a patch helps take care of that, even better, because you did like that one quite a bit.
Yeah, I really like The Fall. And I turned on my Wii U because I started up Shantae and the Pirate's Curse from Way Forward, and I played about an hour, and it's really good. The first hour was really fun. I had a really good time going through that.
Yeah, actually playing Shantae on a console instead of on a handheld system, kind of interesting.
Yeah, I've played a little bit of the Game Boy Color one, because it came to the 3DS eShop, and I'll be honest, it was kind of rough to play through. I think I played through an hour and a half, and I was just like, "Duh." And before then I'd played the DSiWare game, Risky's Revenge, that I really liked, but so far this feels like the best Shantae that I've played. And it's not, there are HD portraits, but it's still pixelated. It's not like they redrew this for the Wii U to be HD. I think it's kind of the same treatment they gave Mighty Switch Force 2 for the console, unlike what they did for the first Mighty Switch Force, but definitely serviceable, definitely looks good, feels really good. There's some light RPG elements that they've added to this that's really nice, so you're actually seeing kind of numbers fly off enemies as you hair whip them, and you can buy things to do more damage to enemies and everything. And if you're a Metroidvania fan, from my first hour, I am really happy that I'm giving it a go.
Very cool. It's always good to hear people getting into Shantae. That's a franchise that I also took a little bit of time to get into. I, of course, didn't get the very first one that came out that kind of set the ball rolling, but I did get the DSiWare game, and I thought that was pretty clever. And I am signed up to get the one that was kickstarted.
What is it? Half Genie Hero?
Yeah, Half Genie Hero. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that one as well. That's kind of what I'm saving my Shantae time for, which I'll have to fit in somewhere.
So you're not planning to get Pirate's Curse?
No, I don't think so. Maybe, but it's just too many games. I mean, I'm still trying to fit in time to play Smash Brothers. I played that a little bit last week, and we just had a blast. It was me and a good buddy of mine, and there's just 2 minute round after 2 minute round after 2 minute round, and we played for, I don't know, an hour and a half or 2 hours, and we eventually got to where we were unlocking Rob the Robot, and we, of course, were just playing goofily. We're like, what character is the absolute worst? What? How about this character? Let's see if this character is even worse than that one. And so we weren't taking it too seriously. We weren't actually picking characters that we were strong with. And then we got into this cycle where Rob the Robot was meant to be unlocked, and one of us would win or place second or third or fourth to my freaking amiibo who've become so difficult to fight against. And then we'd have some character that we really stunk with, and we kept fighting Rob the Robot over and over and over. And finally, I was playing as Zelda, and it's on the Wrecking Crew stage, is where we were fighting Rob the Robot. And I was very methodical. I just kind of stood at a distance and I sent out her little flare that you can also tap again to explode. And I just kind of had this regal setup. I'm like, I'm going to set up on this, and I'm just going to watch you keep coming back. And I'm like, just smash hit that robot, send him flying. Then he starts flying back, and I sent him a little spark attack. And it was really weird because all the previous games attempts to defeat this character were very frenetic, and we were just jumping around, and then things were flashing, and then we several times we just jumped off and killed ourselves. We fell off the stage, which is just shows how awful we were doing. But this time, just like it took forever because I just whittled that robot down until it was done. And then finally, we unlocked Rob the Robot, and then my friend went and played as Rob the Robot and kicked my butt. And just spammed this one move where he spins, where the robot spins around with its arms stuck out, and that just drove me nuts. And I'm like, I will beat you with Zero Suit Samus. She's awesome. Why am I in fourth? That's what kept happening. So it was a really fun time. But I kind of like just having these disposable game time sessions, and the idea of taking on something that's going to have a story of any length or some kind of commitment. I don't know if I've got the time. So for now, Smash is totally satisfying me. And little tidbits of Captain Toad, I need to get back into that as well.
Did you play any online with Smash Brothers, or have you?
I have yet to do that. It's all been with friends who have come over, so it's all been taking me
Local?
back in time to when I first played Smash Brothers on the Nintendo 64, and online didn't exist. That's how I'm playing it today.
Well, you could go online with another person in Smash, right? Like you and your friend could have gone and played the four-player matches.
I think so, but there's something that's sufficiently satisfying of just playing Amiibo, especially since there's no voice chat or anything. It's like, is it really any different versus playing the computer? Not really.
Yeah. Are your amiibo level 50 then?
I think one of them is 50, one of them is 48, and then a couple of them are either in the low 40s or high 30s. So they are all pretty pretty tough to fight. And it's always really frustrating when there are characters that I'm actually not good at playing on my own, but then I get defeated by them as amiibo. And so the computer can beat me with them, but I can't play the character on my own to any effectiveness, which is like, oh, curses. I need to keep practicing. That's all of our gameplay session stories that we have from last week. Now let's get briefly into Nintendo's fiscal year 2015 third quarter results. They were not too bad. Definitely an improvement over the holiday in terms of game sales. Looking at the bigger hardware sales numbers, you may recall at the start of this fiscal year, Nintendo made very bold and aggressive predictions in terms of how many Wii U's and 3DSs would be sold. And the Wii U had a huge slash down. And I can't necessarily blame Nintendo. Nintendo felt like, wow, we're releasing Mario Kart this fiscal year, we're releasing Smash Brothers, how can we lose? And then kind of down like a fourth of the original. And the 3DS has kind of maintained its original forecast, but in this latest update, it did get its sales forecast cut down. So 3DS hardware sales projections are cut down from 12 million units to now 9 million units before the fiscal year is up, and which I think is about June. And Wii U is maintaining its current very reduced forecast of about 3.6 million units. Evan, were you surprised by either of these numbers?
3DS I was not. So the fiscal year actually will end in March. This was
Oh,
for
that's
quarter
right.
three. So this
That's right.
was this was October through December. And fiscal years can be very confusing because every company does them differently.
Yes.
If you're unaware or don't follow anything. So Nintendo's basically starts April 1st and goes to March 30th. for you lovely viewers. And this was the big one because it was the holiday season one. And 3DS sales have been slacking in general. And Nintendo, I was highly skeptical when Nintendo announced for the last fiscal year they did 12 million, and they said that this year they were going to do 12 million again. Now that 12 million from last year was reduced, I believe, from 18 or 15 million, but they thought that they could hold it steady this year, and obviously they can't. They're only at about 7 million with 3 months to go. So I'm guessing they're hoping the new 3DS here in North America and Europe gives it a bump, but 3DS, I don't believe, has ever hit its sales projections from Nintendo. And what's worrisome about that is Nintendo has always been known for its handheld business. Even when GameCube faltered or anything else, it was, oh, the Game Boy Advance is there to pick it up or whatever. And while the 3DS is going well, I feel like a lot of people out there are like, oh, the 3DS is killing it, though. It's doing so well. And yes, it's doing okay, but nowhere near as well as previous Nintendo handhelds, and that's worrisome when you have a console like Wii U that is around 9 million units sold worldwide. That's half of GameCube, which is by far Nintendo's worst console. And when you put it in perspective to Wii, it's sold a tenth of what the Wii sold. And one thing is the 3.6 million that they projected is actually what they projected at the beginning of the year. No, I think you're thinking of last fiscal year, which included part of last year. It's all very confusing. When they expected to sell 9 million and they slashed it to like 2.7 million.
That's right.
Yeah.
Gosh, I apologize, people out
Oh
there.
no.
I'm running on very little sleep today, so my numbers are all wonky. Thank you, Evan.
Oh, no problem. It's especially when you're getting into fiscal years and everything. So the Wii U numbers are pretty strong. That you could argue they're very modest and general. And if you're wondering, well, 3.6 million sounds like a lot. Please remember that I believe it was in December.
Please
2000
understand, you mean?
Well, no. Please remember that I think it was December 2010. Nintendo sold 4 million Wii units in North America alone. So they've fallen quite far, but the Wii U, it seems like they finally kind of plugged that hole that was just drowning the ship for a while and everything. So it's definitely mixed. The 3DS is very troubling because that is Nintendo's strong suit, and it makes me believe that we're going to see the successor sooner than possible, maybe even sooner than Nintendo wants.
That's really a good point. As always, I'm very excited about E3, but this year in particular, I think the biggest question that we're going to see everywhere, whether it's on fan sites, professional sites, or in the news, and analysts alike, will Nintendo be showing new hardware this year that's not related to monitoring your sleep, but it's actually related to video game hardware? And which one will it be? Will it be handheld? Will it be console? Will it be a hybrid? But I completely agree with you, Evan, that while this new 3DS is really killer, and I'm very tempted to get it, I don't know how much of an impact it's going to have. Obviously, Nintendo doesn't feel that it's going to be strong enough, this hardware coming out, to keep the original forecast numbers in line, and that gets me actually into thinking about Twilight Princess, and thinking about how, there's this big Zelda game that's coming out, but this console it's coming out on is kind of on its last legs. Is it really worthwhile to put it out on this system, or should it also come out on a new system? And I'm starting to feel like more and more that may happen.
It's really interesting. I mean, I think a lot of people believe that 2016 will see the new handheld, and then it becomes the question, will we see the hybrid console, the console that I so greatly want and wish for every night upon
A
the
star.
shooting star? Yes. Please, Nintendo. Gods up there. But it just the 3DS, its best days are behind it sales wise. That doesn't mean software wise, and maybe Nintendo has some kind of crazy Game Boy Color like installment, but you would think that's the new 3DS and everything, and maybe they have some software that they think's gonna make it explode. The problems have been in North America and Europe, and I think it's gonna be very tough for Nintendo to kind of reverse that trend. It's hard for any console manufacturer to reverse that trend and everything. It happens very rarely. I think the Kinect with Microsoft's Xbox 360 is one of the only ways the console has kind of had a spur in sales so late in its life cycle and everything. And yeah, I think we're gonna have to see something in 2016 with these types of numbers, Noah, and possibly even early next year.
Really? Worldwide or just in Japan?
I I think Nintendo should operate more like a worldwide company, but obviously you could see them just starting in Japan. But the 3DS is doing okay there, but I just don't. I feel like they're finding themselves in between a rock and a hard place, and I'm quite curious to see what happens.
And as much as I don't want it to, it does. As much as I'm into my smartphone and smartphone games, and so many people that I know, it feels really weird to imagine Nintendo releasing a new games only device into the world. Granted, I will totally get whatever it is, and I think we've talked about this before, Evan, and I think I've read about it before. Nintendo can continue to make hardware for one or two generations, maybe multiple, and even if the market shrinks, still sustain its business. But
Yeah,
the idea of just releasing a traditional gaming handheld that's primarily just a gaming handheld, just seems so weird with as popular as smartphones and prolific as they are, and tablets are. And so that makes me think the reason I'm going on this path is that there's going to be another gimmick, and I don't want another gimmick. I would be fine with 3D visuals on this next system, but I don't know. We're hearing about the rumors about the weird curvy glass displays and stuff like that. So I don't know what it's going to be. I hope it's cool, but I'm getting so leery of gimmicks anymore.
it brings up a lot of questions, and I'm sure the rumors will start around E3. I really don't think we'll see the new console, the new handheld at E3 because we'll just have gotten the new 3DS and everything. But who knows? We could, depending on how the situation, I guess, progresses. But I don't think Nintendo's ready for that yet. But will the next system even have two screens? Will Nintendo go back to a one-screen format, and how would
Yeah.
that affect? Would that mean no backward compatibility or no DS or 3DS digital content? Kind of. I mean, I guess there isn't any DS. There's DSiWare, but regular DS, like, can you bring that in? What will people say about their digital content just kind of being locked to your 3DS hardware? It opens up a lot of questions and everything, and it'll be exciting to see because I will admit, if there's one thing, it seems like Nintendo has a much stronger lineup this year for the 3DS than it does last year. So maybe they
Yeah.
just do have the big games and they think that they can hold it steady around 10 million and then they would be good to go. But very interesting to see. And like I said, it was kind of expected. We haven't heard Nintendo of America boasting about 3DS sales for a long time, and it was the best-selling console in 2013 in North America. So it
Yeah.
wasn't hard to kind of put two and two together there and be like, it's probably not doing that well here.
Yeah. Pokemon or not, but who knows what will be in the future. We could totally get into a roundtable, or maybe a whirlpool is a better metaphor, discussion of what if, and then what I'd love to hear is from listeners and watchers out there in the audience if you have any predictions or thoughts that are along the lines of what we were talking about related to the third quarter fiscal results or predictions for E3. Who cares? It's never too early to talk about that stuff, right? But for now, I'm going to get into your feedback last week's episode. If you would like to send a comment about this week's episode and you want to do it the email route, you can send that into show@nfmagazine.com, or you can just leave a comment below this video on our YouTube channel over at youtube.com/nfmagazine. Evan, what did we hear last week?
Thanks, Noah. Well, let's start with an email from Axel Joxler who says, today I want to share some feedback about The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. I'm playing it for the first time and I'm blown away by the creativity and cleverness of its world design. I've always had mixed feelings about the 3D Zeldas. I felt they had bland, confusing overworlds, full of filler gameplay and non-engaging extras. For me, they were just something I had to go through to reach the next dungeons, which are the true meat of the game. But in Skyward Sword, the design of the overworld is perfect. Each part of the surface has a tangible sense of place, with a seemingly rich history. Special mention to Lanayru Desert. You are also made to revisit each area at least once. When I first found that out, I thought it would be terribly boring, but it actually ends up making them all feel even more familiar and important. On your second trip, you discover new parts previously inaccessible and new layers of lore. It also allows you to pick up all the collectibles you couldn't get on your first trip without having to go out of your way to get them. The overworld basically feels like a collection of outdoor dungeons, meaning there's no downtime and the game's pacing never takes a dip. It took me a while to figure out why I liked this game so much more than other 3D Zeldas, and it seems obvious to me now. The designers had taken a page from Retro Studios' book when it comes to world design. Feels like I'm playing a Zelda Prime. I hope the Zelda Wii U will keep going in that direction because Skyward Sword is now, plain and simple, the best Zelda game I've ever played.
Well, that is definitely some strong praise. How do you feel about that game, Evan?
Well, first, Axel Droxler, the feedback's great. I loved hearing about what you liked about Skyward Sword. And no, you know that I'm a big Skyward Sword fan. Everyone out there, you can probably find it on our previous podcast called the Heartcast. We actually had like a 2.5-hour spoiler cast Skyward Sword episode where you could hear all of my thoughts. I mean, I can't even remember everything I said. But I have a difference of opinion that I really did not enjoy visiting those areas twice. Even though it did open up new areas or they did something drastically different, like flooding the forest area and everything, so it became kind of this swimming kind of area and everything. I wasn't a fan, and it felt very like closed off. And so I'm someone that's jumping with joy about the open world and kind of just not knowing where to go, where for Axel Joxer, I bet he's very skeptical about that and doesn't enjoy this kind of, I want to get to the dungeons, I want point to point, and that doesn't seem to be what you're going to be getting with it.
That's true. That's a really good point. Yeah, let us know, Axel Drexler, what you think of that. I think it's so cool to hear people's impressions when they play through games, even if it's a game that came out years ago. So if you're actually exploring something for the first time like Axel Drexler is, feel free to share with us because it's fun to go down memory lane and hear, do you have a point of view that's similar to what other people have said in the past, or is it something brand new? Does it not meet the expectations that you had based on all the things that you've heard from other people? And I really like what Axel Drexler talked about and doesn't mind. The issue that I had with Skyward Sword is I found the motion controls, while well executed, a little bit tiresome. I'm a lazy gamer at the end of the day, and I love the execution. Like, yes, finally, this is awesome. Finally, a game that's not Wii Sports that really uses motion controls well. But I just wasn't necessarily feeling like doing all of those motion controls.
Yeah, there's issues with Skyward Sword. The tutorial is once again overly long and everything.
Yes.
And I feel like A Link Between Worlds really fixed that. And I'd be curious to see. But what I love about the Zelda franchise is how everyone has their favorite, and as much as people are like, oh, it's another Zelda, those games really, there are some pretty tangible differences that make them their own that can become very divisive. And the overworld is something that obviously Axel Droxler loves, and a lot of people, that's what they kind of believe the weakness is. Though I will say I do love how the overworld in a lot of spots feels like a little dungeon, and then you actually get to the dungeon or whatever. And I love the animation whenever you go into a dungeon in Skyward Sword, I think you're always going down stairs or whatever, and it kind of does a close-up of Link's face or whatever, and then goes to the side as you kind of work your way down. It's always like an awesome feeling, like, all right, bring it on. What do you have to offer?
Here we go.
Yep. Well, that's the only email. Let's get into some of the YouTube comments, starting with Benjamin A. This is exciting for you, Noah. I agree with Noah.
Wow.
I simply cannot get into Monster Hunter. I've downloaded the Monster Hunter 4 demo and deleted it within 10 minutes.
Oh, burn, Evan.
I have a good friend that plays Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate on Wii U, and I do not see the appeal. Sorry, Evan. Lately, no need to apologize. It still doesn't get Noah off the hook. He can't use He can't use you as an excuse, Benjamin, until he tries the Monster Hunter 4 demo. Lately, I've been getting back into Animal Crossing New Leaf. I picked this game up at the Nintendo World Store on launch day and put this down for months at a time. Or, sorry, I skipped. And sunk many hours into it. Of course, I got distracted by other games and put this down for months at a time. I'm now focused on getting my town back to a perfect standing, so I finally can get my gold watering can. So my question is, what would you guys like to see in a new Animal Crossing game that will possibly be on Wii U? Is there something you thought was a missed opportunity in the 3DS version? My suggestion would be to allow us, the mayor, to predetermine where residents' houses can be built. In Animal Crossing New Leaf, a new house could be built nearly anywhere, destroying your setup.
I'm going to have to agree with you on that, Benjamin. I would want more mayoral powers, zoning powers, the ability to make almost more of a SimCity type game and take less of the randomness out of who moves to your town and stuff like that, and maybe even have a queue where people apply to come to your exclusive gated community, and you get to choose who's going to be there and where they're going to go and stuff like that. I guess I'm more of a sim gamer at heart versus what Animal Crossing is, which Animal Crossing is a little bit of a sim, but it's not quite that. And that said, I too put a ton of time in that game, and unfortunately have not looked at it in probably 2 years, which is actually not really bothering me. I feel guilty about it. Sorry, Isabel. But if we could have more mayoral powers, that was definitely a big selling point. That's one of the main reasons I got into that game. I would definitely like that in the next one.
I would like to just see better online functionality. I don't want to have to open up my town gate. I'd like something to make that just enabled all the time. And yeah. I would like, obviously, voice chat within the Wii U version. And that's going to probably pop up with every game forever and ever.
Once voice chat and everything.
By the way. But I'd like to see something, too, along with that online functionality. I'd like for people to be able to visit my town even if I'm not there, maybe drop off stuff. And maybe you could just have some kind of filter where it's like you either let people do what they want to your town. Maybe you can close it off to just friends, open them to anyone, or you close it off where they can't come visit. And if someone does have something fun, like if you go into someone's town where it's like you're not supposed to touch anything and you try something, you have a Mr. Rossetti type character come up and just be like, who do you think you are, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, it's so much fun, and it was so much fun to play Animal Crossing New Leaf with you, Noah, and with a lot of people. And I just want that to become easier. Make it so much easier to jump into those matches, make it easier to play the game and share it with my friends. And obviously, if it's on Wii U, open it up to more than just 4 people visiting a town. Make it 16, 24, as far as you can go. Let us have these huge parties and go clubbing together in the Animal Crossing for Wii U. Our next comment comes from Kasaki Project, who says, I used to do the same thing, Evan. As a teenager during the GameCube era, I would get like halfway through every game and move on to the next one. As an adult, I finish most of the games I play. I guess it being our own limited time and money is more motivating. On to Starship Damry. The controls never really bugged me because it added to the sense of fear and powerlessness. I guess that is something I can look past. Considering I enjoyed Fragile Dreams a lot too, and people had similar complaints. I think if you get through it, you'll really enjoy the ending, especially if you do the final optional puzzle and get the full ending. Sorry, Kasaki Project. And finally, I think at E3 we'll get universal accounts with auto registration and a loyalty program.
I like those kind of optimistic predictions, Kisaki Project. But note, Evan, he did not say anything about voice chat in his prediction.
Yeah, and speaking of which, in Kisaki Project, if you didn't catch last week's episode, we talked about Club Nintendo closing down. And Club Nintendo just threw up a ton of digital games as well as some new physical rewards. But the digital games are crazy. I think you can get Wonderful 101 for 600 coins. You can get like Super Mario 3D Land on 3DS for 600 coins. You can get Golden Sun for Wii U for like 200 coins. If you have a lot of coins, you can get some really awesome games on there, and it goes from small, downloadable, and virtual console to big games, like even Kid Icarus Uprising. I things like 700 coins, which isn't too crazy or anything.
Nice.
Our next comment comes from Will G. I think the next amiibo step is to integrate them with Pokemon the trading card game. Nintendo has talked about putting amiibo in card form already, and there are too many Pokemon for them to make full statues for everyone. The cards would be an easier way, and over time they could possibly make every single Pokemon into an amiibo.
This whole card thing just rubs me the wrong way. I wish they would just name it something different rather than dilute the name of what amiibo means and what it does. Now, granted, these cards may not be paper playing cards and actually be something a little bit more substantial where you save stuff to them and can move stuff back and forth. So the functionality is there, but it's not quite as appealing. And I wonder if it will actually maintain the amiibo name or if it will be called something like Amiibo Express or Amiibo Cards or something like that. But it's just not something I'm too excited. But I really like what the point Will G makes. It's the most scalable and logical way to get all of the Pokemon potentially represented versus trying to make super cool figurines of all of them. It's much more reasonable to do them in cards. And then plus, you could do blind boxes of cards, or you could treat it just like traditional trading card games where you don't know what you're going to get, and you have to just keep buying package after package after package to try to get all of the cards in your collection.
I think Will comes up with a really clever idea. But I agree that I think you're talking about more about like issuing card amiibo for people who can't find Marth or whatever so they can get that functionality. And that's Miyamoto saying that. I don't think he has any idea what's going on. I'm not. I mean, well, no, he's busy with game development and amiibos. I'm sure that they have some data showing that a lot of these people buying them all. I bet there's quite a few that don't have a Wii U even. So they're not going to buy the card. Like, the appeal of amiibo, like you said, is the toy. But I think the idea of putting Pokemon with the trading card game and getting a Wii U version of that, since it's out on iPad, would be really cool.
Yeah.
Our next comment comes from Old School 1990s. Congratulations on the 50th show. Thank you. I'm so excited for the next year of Nintendo and NF Magazine. I pledged to the Kickstarter campaign on day one, and I am letting as many gaming friends as I know about it. That's really cool. Thank you, Old School 1990s. Now, my top 3 most played 3DS games are, drumroll please, number 1, Animal Crossing New Leaf at 190 hours.
Wow.
Number 2, Theater Rhythm Final Fantasy at 150 hours. And finally, Theater Rhythm Final Fantasy Curtain Call at 127 hours. I've never played another Animal Crossing, and I didn't even realize I had put that much time into it. Most games that I rack up that much time into, I usually feel like I really invested my time. With New Leaf, I never felt like I was grinding or stretching out the game.
That's really remarkable because that's kind of how I fell out of favor with New Leaf, or I guess it fell out of my daily schedules. I just felt after a couple months of it that I was doing homework, signing on, looking for whatever items are in the store, going and harvesting stuff, checking in on everybody, and then done. And I don't know, I think it's kind of like, maybe it's kind of like if you start exercising at the gym or if you start doing some kind of diet and you reach this plateau of accomplishment where you're not really losing the weight that you want to lose, you're kind of stuck, or you're not really being able to progress at a fitness level with what you're doing at the gym. And I think that's what happened in Animal Crossing New Leaf, is I reached this plateau where it just became really mundane and very monotonous what I was doing. Head out to the island, fish, collect everything, go back, cash it in, and it felt really dry. But I think some people out there, because I visited some towns that were amazing, they were put together as if these people had masters or PhDs in landscape and neighborhood design. Just like, wow, these are really impressive. I never got there, but maybe in the next one, maybe that'll happen.
Our next comment comes from the 7th Experiment. I just wanted to say thank you all for the great episodes you guys brought us. Before, when I thought of Mondays, I'd feel a little icky about it since the start of the week and all, but now I have something great to look forward to.
Yay!
Thank you. Recently, I've been playing Super Mario Galaxy 2 and Harvest Moon: A New Beginning. My mom likes to watch me play Super Mario Galaxy 2, and I can tell from her reactions that she really loves the game. I'm really glad that I was able to pick it up for such a wonderful price of only $10. Since you guys were talking about the number of hours you guys played on some of your favorite games, I wanted to share a couple of my top 3 most played 3DS games. In third place, I have Harvest Moon: A New Beginning at 97 hours and 37 minutes. In second place, I have Tamagotchi Life at 105 hours and 52 minutes. And
Wow.
finally, the first place winner is Animal Crossing New Leaf at 175 hours and 49 minutes. Close but no cigar, Seventh Experiment. It sounds like old school 1990s has you beat there. Oh, and I forgot one other little thing I've been playing recently, the Codename Steam demo. About 4 or 5 stages in the demo, I'm impressed with the way the game looks. I have decided that I will buy Codename Steam. I think it'll be a fun strategy game.
I'm so glad that Nintendo put out a demo for Codename Steam because it definitely is a bit of a hard sell because it's so abstract and unusual, and I can't wait to try it. I'm really stoked about that.
So you're going to try it out this week?
Yeah, that's going to be my objective. Gaming objective identified.
That's your homework instead of Animal Crossing New Leaf,
Yeah.
Codename Steam. There's quite a lot there, and the Seventh Experiment had a much longer comment on YouTube that I suggest you all check out, and she talked about kind of the same issues as me. She thought that it seemed built for the new 3DS with the stylus controls, and also noticed having to wait for the aliens to take their turn. So definitely kind of in line with what I'm thinking so far about the demo. Our final comment comes from WeeMan63, who lets us know that he or she is currently playing Mario and Luigi Dream Team on the 3DS XL.
I would be interested in WeeMan63 to find out if you finished that game because it goes on forever.
Did you finish that?
No, I didn't. I got sidetracked. With The Legend of Zelda: Link Between Worlds, and I was telling myself I knew when I started that game, Mario and Luigi Dream Team, that it was ridiculously long and it would go on forever. And I told myself I will not let Zelda overtake it. And sure enough, I got Zelda, and then that was the only thing I played.
So
I played
long.
that game until I was done. And I got through it, and definitely it's shorter, I think, than Mario and Luigi Dream Team, not surprisingly. But man, I love that game. And then after that, I just never went back to Mario and Luigi, which is kind
Weren't you like 40 hours into Mario and Luigi or something?
I think it was about 25 hours, and I looked at the overall timeline. I looked on an FAQ. Like I feel like I was halfway through, or if not further, and I think I was just about halfway, and I just thought, wow, I don't know if I care enough to keep playing, but it was a pretty good game.
After playing Bowser's Inside Story, and I felt like that game had some pacing issues possibly toward the end or whatever as well. But when I see Mario and Luigi games now, it's just like when I saw Dream Team at least, I was like, I've been there.
Been down that road.
And I don't know if I'm just getting to that part in general with a lot of Nintendo franchises or it's just certain ones, but Mario and Luigi is definitely one of them. I think if they announced a new one, I'd just be like, yep, looks like I think they all look so similar too. So I get that they have different stories being an RPG, but yeah, I'd love to hear more of what you think, WeeMan63. But that is all of the fantastic feedback for this episode, Noah.
Thank you very much, Evan. And for those of you who actually watch us when we stream live, I do want to apologize. We were having some really unusual technical difficulties that postponed when we started, and so now we're running a little bit late. Thank you so much for your patience and that. And we look forward to hearing from you if you write into us, and we'll be sharing your feedback in the next week. Otherwise, we also just really appreciate that you take time out of your week to listen to our show or to watch it. Feel free to leave us a review over on iTunes or give us a thumbs up over here on our YouTube channel, or just continue staying subscribed to us. We really appreciate it. And don't forget to head over to Kickstarter for the Year 3 Kickstarter for NF Magazine. Either set your new subscription up or renew your subscription over there and get yourself a cool reward in the meantime. If you want to keep up to date on everything that's going on with the Kickstarter magazine, the Kickstarter initiative for NF Magazine Year 3, I would recommend actually following the official NF Magazine Twitter, which is at Nintendo Force. On the other hand, if you want to hear some random ramblings from your co-hosts here in this episode. You can follow Evan at Evan Campbell, and I am at This Is Noah. Thanks once again for joining us this week, and we will be back a week from now. Until next time, bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.